Disney classics, original shows, documentaries, and more, there's a new streaming service in town.
We're Andrea and Patty, and we are now streaming Disney Plus.
Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Andrea with Theme Park Parents, and you can find me at Theme Park Parents on social or at Andrea Updike.
Hey y'all, this is Patty from NoGuiltFangirl.com and the No Guilt Fangirls podcast. You can find me on all socials at No Guilt Life. And we've got to talk Timmy Failure today. This is a movie that Andrea and I both have some thoughts on. But before we get there, we're going to do a little bit of a news roundup. What you got, Andrea?
Well, we're kind of in a lull right now with the new Disney Plus originals coming out, but we've got a few things coming up. We have Disney Fairy Tale Weddings, which has just begun, and I have not yet watched the first episode, but who doesn't love a Disney wedding? There's also a couple of shows that are dropping at the end of the month. One is called Shop Class, and I'm actually really excited about this one. I think my boys would enjoy it, and we'll get into it more once we have a chance to watch it. But it's basically a competition, a shop class competition, and the kids are getting in there, they're getting their hands dirty, they're building stuff, and then at the end of the season, we'll see who wins. So I think that's kind of a neat idea.
Yeah, no, I love this idea, and I love focusing on shop class. I am one of those people that not all kids or all people are meant to go to college necessarily, like right away.
Absolutely.
So anything that can also focus and make normal again, doing these kinds of things like shop, mechanics, hands-on, what am I trying to say? What are the trade schools?
Trades, yeah.
Yeah, all those trades. Like I am super proponent of that sort of thing, and so I'm digging this idea too, and I hope that also kind of helps reignite some interest in some of our high school, middle school kids out there who are like, oh, hey, that actually looks really cool. Maybe I should sign up for that next year. So
absolutely. And there's so much value in learning a skill. I mean, just being able to work with your hands. I love it. So I'm
even
excited.
If it's a hobby, even if it's not something you do like, to earn a living. But yeah. So no, I love that too. We also have the Clone Wars, finally, the 7th and final season kicks off on Friday. And I did not watch any of them like I thought I was going to be able to watch. So,
But you know what? I think we know enough about the story. I mean, I would love to go back and watch them all, but life happens, right? I think the new season looks amazing from what I can tell. The animation, of course, is out of this world. And I think everyone is just waiting to see what they're going to do with this story. Like, how is it going to connect the dots?
Yeah, my sons were into the Clone Wars back in the day, and so they both have mentioned it. And even my 17-year-old has mentioned it. So I know we'll be watching it around here. Yeah, I know we'll be watching it around here. And then the last thing to mention, any 90s kids out there? I'm more an 80s kid, but Andrea, you're kind of...
I'm on the cusp. I was a teenager in the 90s. I 93 or so, but so I was like middle school in the early 90s. So,
all right, well, Mighty Ducks fans.
Yes.
It's happening. We're getting a Disney Plus series based on the Mighty Ducks. And Lauren Graham is going to be starring in this. But, guys, they just announced Emilio Estevez.
I'm so excited for this. And I would love to see cameos from any of the Ducks from the original movies. I think it's going to be so much fun. And, I love hockey anyway. In North Carolina, we've got a pretty decent hockey team, Carolina Hurricanes. And we actually just went to a hockey game last weekend, actually on Valentine's Day. So it's fun for my family. And I think, again, my boys are going to get into it. And they have never seen the movies. So that makes me want to dial it up and have a little throwback 90s movie night.
Oh, totally. And that one's coming out, I think they just vaguely said sometime in the next year.
Yeah, we have time.
Oh, and Andrea and I were laughing so hard. We had recorded the last episode, which was talking about the Super Bowl Marvel spot.
Yes.
And I think as soon as we edited it and had it ready to go that same day, all this news came out about more specifics about the Marvel shows, as well as The Mandalorian. When it's coming back, we can expect to see that. I think it's October.
Oh,
Am I remembering correctly?
I believe so.
Yeah, I'll remember how all of that came out like as soon as we had recorded. Anyway,
Yes, and we didn't get our wish. We were hoping for May for WandaVision. I think Bob Iger said December, or at least hinted at it.
Yes, I believe you're right. So yeah, we're gonna get some next year. In August, aren't we getting something in August? Yeah, Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yes, but
yeah,
I'm giving my side eye to Disney because December is barely 2020. I mean, if you want to split hairs, sure, but come on, we might as well be waiting a year.
Well, it's pretty dang close. But anywho, so yeah, with that news all came out as soon as we put the other one in the can. But anyway, we wanted to put, and I'm sure as soon as we hang up here, something amazing is also going to come out, and we're going to be like, oh man, we need to talk about that.
But that's a good reason for you to come over to our blogs, because we try to update those a little bit more frequently when there's big news, especially Patty's No Guilt Fangirl. But I also do update on Just Is a 4-letter word. So you can check out reviews and things in between the shows.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So speaking of reviews, we are going to talk about Timmy Failure.
Do we have to?
Oh. Well, I think we should. And here's why I think we should. First of all, this is one of those cases where I had high hopes for it. I've never read the book, so I didn't, know anything about the history of Timmy Failure. And I don't think anybody in my household has either. And I took a peek at Rotten Tomatoes, and Rotten Tomatoes critics were giving glowing praise, saying this was a hilarious show. And I think it's got like 86 on the Tomato Reader. And but the interesting thing was the audience was saying, not so much. They were a little, they were a little bit more lukewarm. Audience is coming in like at 64. Now, I don't think Tomato Meter is the end all beat all of all critical whatever, but it always fascinates me when the critics say one thing but the audience says another, and that's what we have going on with this movie. And in this case, I am siding with the audience, and I think you are too.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. I think when you look at critic reviews, you have to remember that most of these critics are watching movies for a living. They are watching movie after movie after movie after movie. And they have a style and a bias, just like the rest of us do. They might like this or that. And one thing I will say for Timmy Failure, it is a different movie. So I can see why it stands out to the critics, because it's like, oh, this isn't just your everyday kids movie. I can see that. But as a viewer, it didn't do anything for me. I thought it was kind of boring. It was long and drawn out. I didn't love the character of Timmy. He wasn't that endearing to me. There were a few moments. And I have not read the books, but my oldest, Oscar, who I always talk about because really, we need to have him on the show. He read all the books, and when he found out there was a Timmy Failure movie, he was so excited. He could not wait to watch it. He literally said, "There's a Timmy Failure movie. Can I watch it right now?" And I was like, "Sure, go watch it." So he watched it like the day after it came out. And then he was like, that really wasn't like the book at all.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, well, let's give a little brief synopsis of what this is about. So this follows the exploits of Timmy Failure. He's a quirky, deadpan 5th grader from Portland. Who, along
you
with
will not escape that information.
Yeah, any of it. Like that nails it right there. So he, along with a 1,500-pound polar bear, named Total, operates Total Failure Inc., which is a detective agency. So he's an outsider at his elementary school. He's clueless but confident, and he wants to see his detective agency become the best in the world. Mm-hmm. But first, of course, he has to deal with those pesky adults that he can't seem to communicate perfectly with, and there's craziness ensues after that. So one thing I will say this, I want to start with something good. What I did appreciate or acknowledge with Timmy Failure is the whole idea that, normal is for normal people. Right?
Normal is for normal people.
So normal is boring. Normal is for normal people. You be different. Embrace what makes you weird and cool. And I love that. Like I can't beat up on that message. However, the way this, so I think what I didn't like about this movie was that there was potential there, but something in the execution was off for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I could see where they wanted it to be funny, and it just
doesn't land.
Funny.
It doesn't
land.
And I hate to complain about kid actors, but
yeah,
but sometimes I do complain about kid actors.
Sure.
And in this particular show, there wasn't anybody that I really resonated with when we were talking about the kid acting. So I don't, and I'm not really blaming them. I'm blaming more the direction in this case.
Right. I think they acted the way they were directed to
Correct.
act. Now, I will say, and I forget her name, I should look it up, but the little girl that plays Molly Moskins is an up-and-coming actress. She's actually going to be in a movie that comes out next month in theaters called My Spy. She is adorable. I loved her, and I thought she did a great job. She was the little friend of Timmy who was always wanting to help him, and his little sidekick. But that being said, the problem I had with Timmy the character, not so much the actor, was he just wasn't likable.
No, he's terrible. He's an awful child, and I don't like him at all. And I really felt bad for his mom, who was also named Patty. So yes, there's my bias. But I really had issues with how he treated her, and he's just kind of a jerk.
And he never comes around. Like, you're waiting for that moment, and instead of him coming around, he gives this big speech about why he should be the way he is. And
here's the thing about that is there might be a reason. Like, maybe Timmy is diagnosed in a certain way. I don't know. There could be a reason, but this movie doesn't give us what that reason is. It doesn't give us any background on why Timmy's unlikable. He's just unlikable, and we didn't like him.
And according to Oscar, who has read all of the Timmy Failure books, one of his main comments was he actually said he's much more likable in the books. He's funnier and he's nicer. He said he's nicer in the books. He's not very nice in this movie. And I don't know why that was really changed, because all it took was a few little tweaks. Like, I love Craig Robinson anyway, but I loved him as the guidance counselor, Mr. Jenkins. His scenes were some of my favorite scenes, along with the scenes with Crispin, who is sort of the love interest of Timmy's mom. They brought the humor. Their characters were a little bit more multi-dimensional, and they brought like the emotional connection to the movie. And they, one of my favorite lines from the movie is, Timmy Failure, mistakes were made is the full name of the movie. And so you hear the phrase mistakes were made over and over. And one of the best parts is when the guidance counselor says, by you forgot that part. Mistakes were made by you. And he's like, take some responsibility. And I think that's what the message wanted to be, but they just didn't quite get there by the end of the movie. Like, you had a moment and then it flipped back to this disrespectful, out of control thing.
Yeah, it just, didn't like it. The only times I even laughed were with the polar bear. And that was because of just the pure absurdity that there's this polar bear wandering around Portland and everyone's cool with it. But additionally, I was watching it with my 8-year-old daughter, and she thought the polar bear was hilarious. Now, the rest of the movie, and Lucy is very much like me. She loves movies, and that's our thing. We like to sit down together and watch movies, and she absolutely loves everything on Disney Plus. Like, she's always, what's new on Disney Plus, Mom? What can we watch? What can we watch? So we sat down to watch this together, and she was up and down, in and out of the room. It didn't hold her attention, and that was the clear signal to me that this was a miss. Because if Lucy doesn't like it, then that says a whole lot, from that perspective. She couldn't even, and right?
She's 8, right?
She's 8.
Yeah. So here's my question about that, because Oscar is 11, and even he had a couple questions, and I felt a little unsure the first time I watched it when he would flip in between his imagination and real life. I felt like that was really hard to follow, and as I wondered, did she follow along with that? Like, could she tell the difference between what was real and what he was imagining and was totally not happening at all.
I don't think she paid enough attention to the movie to see any of that. I really don't. So yeah, I don't. I think that again was the problem, is that maybe early on in the movie it just did not, catch her attention enough to focus on and pay attention to it. But she did laugh every time that polar bear was on the scene.
Yeah, and I have to say the CGI was great with the polar bear.
Yeah.
I'm like, I used to be so anti CGI animals, but their technology is getting a lot better, so I could totally accept this polar bear into reality, even though he was also a figment of his imagination.
Yeah.
But I asked Oscar, I said, well, who is your favorite character? And he said that Rollo, the Timmy's friend, who was always trying to like speak reason, he was like, he was my favorite because he tried to talk Timmy out of doing stupid stuff. And I was like, yes, okay, at least my kid gets it.
Hey, there's something we can grasp onto. So yeah, that was Timmy Failure for us. I think it's a miss for both of us. I don't, from a parent perspective, I don't think there's any real hang-ups with letting your kids watch this. It's just going to be a question of if they get it or not, if they like it or not, if they're into it or not. And I just know it's not something that we're going to turn back on in this household. And that's too bad, because right now there's not a lot of new stuff kind of coming out. And so we would have really liked to have something that we could watch a couple times over and over again. But I guess we'll just have to look forward to the Clone Wars next week and get down with that when it comes out.
And if you are a fan of these book to movie movies, I will tell you that we discovered just the other day that the Percy Jackson movies are now on Disney Plus, which I didn't know they were coming to Disney Plus. So if you're a I can never say his name, Rick Riordan fan, and your children like the Percy Jackson stories, those movies are now available, at least the first one. So that might get your book to movie fix if you're looking for something while we wait for the new releases.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. Okay. Well, I think we're going to wrap up Timmy Failure. And don't forget, if you guys want to talk more Disney Plus stuff, we do have a Facebook group, and we'll link that in show notes. So feel free to come join us over there. And hopefully we'll get some chatter going when some of this new stuff starts coming out again.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you real soon.